Hi, I'm David Berndt, and I did Benedict Arnold. David Berndt production. Anyway, Arnold, in his early years, he was born into a wealthy family on January 14, 1741. And although he was born into a wealthy family, his father had several poor business deals that led to him being taken out of school and having to go as an apprentice into his cousin's apothecary. After leaving his apprenticeship, he established his own apothecary in New Haven, and he often traveled to Europe to gather supplies or dabble in underhanded smuggling activities. At the official start of the war, Arnold, he was already captain of the guard. He was captain of the governor's second company of guards, and when he heard that the battles of Lexington and Concord were about to go down, he marched there with his men, and he encountered Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys. Although Arnold had authorization to take command of the operation, Allen dissuaded him, and he eventually ended up going under Allen as commander as far as the capture of Fort Ticonderoga. He eventually resigned from the command of Allen, and he helped capture the fort and proceeded to capture the fort and watch Allen and the Green Mountain Boys get drunk in the fort. George Washington, he mentioned Arnold to Congress as the plans for the Canadian invasion were still being developed. Arnold was given the rank of colonel and soon began to implement his previously developed plans, and Arnold's march through Canada proved to be an incredibly difficult one and is remembered from then on as one of the most difficult military marches in history. When he finally reached Quebec, the rain prevented the assault on the city, and due to the British realizing he was there, they bolstered their numbers, and during the assault, when the assault finally came on December 31st, Arnold was shot in the leg, but continued to give orders from his sickbed. He was promoted to brigadier general, although his operation did fail. After being the only one to volunteer for the mission to capture Fort Schuyler, Arnold single-handedly captured the entire fort by convincing the occupying British that there were hundreds of thousands of Americans ready for battle and marching outside the fort when actually there were less than 1,000. He went into the fort to find no British forces inside whatsoever. And after this, he returned to the main force under the command of General Horatio Gates. And when he refused to give reinforcements to the American line during the Battle of Saratoga, Arnold charged on his horse himself against the orders of Gates and got shot. Or his horse got shot, and the horse fell on his already injured leg, which crippled him for the rest of his life. In May of 1779, Arnold began bargaining with the British. Many believe that he started doing this because he felt unappreciated and Congress had done him wrong, but they found that the British did offer him 10,000 pounds, which definitely persuaded him a bit. Arnold offered West Point up to the British in return for the bounty, and just as Arnold was about to hand over the papers, the commander of the British in charge of getting the fort, Major John Andre, was caught, and Arnold got away on the boat that Andre had used to get there in the first place. And Andre was tried and executed while Arnold got away to England. When he got to England, he was compensated for his work in America, but the British never fully trusted him. They didn't believe him to be a trustworthy person, and he could never land an important military job, which is what he was used to. He moved several times between Canada, which he had gotten land from the English, and England, and he eventually even went to France. But no matter where he went, people didn't think of him as trustworthy, and he couldn't hold down a solid job. He eventually just ended up living off of his compensation that the British gave him, and went back into the shipping business in Canada. No one liked him there, and he died in 1801. With everyone but his family almost forgetting about him. Yeah.